Welcome to ComSpark. Today we're in Dayton, Ohio, and we're talking to Brett Bogan with RELX Group. Hi, Brett.
Hi, how are you?
Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks.
Got a couple questions for you. The first one, what interesting challenges do you deal with, specifically in your industry? And maybe RELX Group isn't as familiar to the audience, so you talk to us a little bit about that. But what specific challenges do you deal with and therefore have to be innovative in your solutions as a technology leader?
Sure. So RELX Group is actually the new name of a company called Elsevier. And Elsevier has its roots as an Anglo-Dutch publisher going back over 100 years. The name that might be most recognizable to those in this area would be LexisNexis. So LexisNexis is one of the divisions of RELX. So in my position as Senior Director of Security Operations, we are responsible for incident response across the organization globally.
Wow.
So the biggest challenge for us is the breadth of our company, the number of products and services that we offer to over 180 countries, essentially.
Wow.
And the structure of our information security organization. We have a decentralized structure. So every division is responsible for the operations of information security, but once it gets to a certain level of an incident, then it comes to us. So on any given day, we may come in and learn about an incident for some product in some country we didn't know existed. So that is challenging in and of itself. I think for us and how we handle that situation is that we just make sure that we have our processes and procedures for how we handle incidents in general fully documented and tested frequently. That's how we best learn if something's going to work during a real life incident. We test it, we do tabletop scenarios.
Yeah, so you have a pretty robust incident response planning process.
We do.
How do you make that successful? It sounds like you'd have to get a lot of people involved.
We do. So several times a year, myself and others within our department, our legal organization, we get with the different business areas, and we do these scenarios and simulation planning. So it's not something we could do all at once with everyone across the enterprise because everyone's a little bit different. Even different areas of the world might handle something a little bit differently due to custom or cultures. So a scenario that we might test in Atlanta, Georgia is not going to be the same scenario we test in Prague, Czech Republic.
Exactly. Interesting. So let's talk a little bit about you now. As your career has matured, what opportunities do you feel like you leveraged or you jumped on, you opened that door, you stepped through, you would advise others to say, take those opportunities, or just how do you think you got where you are today, and what advice would you give someone else?
Right. So I feel fortunate that I started working for first LexisNexis 19 years ago, and it was a company that really cared about your professional development. So where I started at was actually in customer support, handling customer inquiries.
Wow.
And they provided all the training necessary to learn the products, et cetera. After about 5.5 years, I had an opportunity to join the data protection team as a fraud investigator, and it was something completely new, something I had no previous skills as being an investigator, and just took that plunge. And then since then, it's been a constant learning process as data protection becomes more upfront and important to organizations. We're having to learn about new laws in different countries, and so I think I can't say that every organization will invest in your development like LexisNexis and RELX has for me, but if you have the opportunity to constantly learn and seek those skills that you may not have, or add to your tool belt to constantly do that.
All right, keep growing. Got it. So what specific areas, so thinking about going forward, how you keep pace, but also advice to others, what specific areas of technology do you believe we need to be thinking about right now, or looking forward to, or maybe spending our evenings reading dummies for
Right.
blank.
This was a tough one. This is a tough one for me to think about because I think some of the buzzwords you hear about nowadays might be artificial intelligence or machine learning, and I think those are definitely important, especially when I think about fraud detection and taking advantage of those emerging technologies. But also the bad actors, the fraudsters can use those same technologies against us. But I think what I'll land on is just cloud computing and the organizations that are migrating much of their business processes, their infrastructure as a whole to the cloud. There are definitely obvious benefits to moving to the cloud, but there's also a lot of security implications to that. It seems like almost weekly you might hear of a new incident involving a cloud type of situation. So
That's true. There's so much to it, contracts and everything, right?
Exactly. So I think that's one that I think about often as our own organization moves to the cloud. And I think how I would handle it is, there's lots of information out there. I don't necessarily recommend cloud computing for dummies, but industry consortiums, industry conferences, just talking to your peers, because everyone's going through this same journey. So you can learn from what others are doing, and even staying up on, company ABC has this incident. Now, what went wrong with them? How can we avoid going down that same path?
Learning from others. That's a really great point.
Exactly.
Wow, Brett, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate you joining us today and answering these questions.
Welcome. Thanks for having me.
And if you'd like any more information, please visit ComSpark.tech.